So, moving a little bit farther down the approval pathway, once you have a drug that has gone through trials and it didn't fail, in fact, it performed great and it goes through approval, gets the green light from the FDA, the next risk that you're looking at there is commercial failure. How does that one work?
Well, probably the best recent example of a commercial failure is Mankind's Afrezza. You and I have talked a lot about it on the show. When it launched or won approval from the FDA, people thought that it could really change the burden that's on patient diabetics in how they dose themselves with insulin. Afrezza is an inhalable version of insulin that theoretically would reduce the need for them to inject themselves with insulin at mealtime. People thought that was a big advantage. However, commercially, it just didn't stick, and as a result, sales ended up, in the couple $1 million a quarter range, and that's just not enough to keep the lights on.
Yeah, and this, mind you, was a drug that before it was actually commercialized was forecast to be $1 billion blockbuster. And the disappointment that came with it really just hammered the stock. But interestingly, I was looking at it. Last time we talked about this company on the podcast was January 6th of this year. And Mankind is up almost 60% since then. Would you take that as some sort of sign of encouragement that maybe there is something to this whole Afrezza drug?
Well, it's now in a $1 or $2 stock, and I don't know. I don't put much credence in the share price movement at this point. They've got a tremendous amount of debt. Their balance sheet isn't very healthy. I feel like you're grasping at straws and thinking that Sanofi, who was the commercialization partner, that they failed where they were able to build Lantus into a multi-billion-dollar long-lasting insulin drug. They failed with Afrezza, and Mankind thinks that on their own that they can do better. I don't know. I think the proof has to be in the pudding there. I think at this point you have to say this is a commercial failure, and until they prove you otherwise, better to stay on the sidelines and just not risk an up 20% or down 20% day with your money.
Yeah, that's the impression I've always had from this stock, is that it is extremely volatile, extremely risky. And recently, the bump that it's had, to me, seems like speculation more than anything over a possible buyout. But again, remains to be seen.